What is my case worth is probably the most important question for any injured worker, understandably. And for that reason, it's the question we get most frequently. And unfortunately, it's not a very straightforward question to answer. Every workers' comp claim is unique and it's very fact-specific. And because the goal of the law is to compensate an injured worker for a loss of an earning capacity, there are a lot of important numbers and information that we're going to need before we can answer what your case is worth. To begin with, we were going to need to know your average weekly wage. The average weekly wage is sort of the common denominator in workers' compensation cases, and it's how we derive all of the different benefit rates that might be applicable for your case. The average weekly wage is found by looking 52 weeks back prior to the date of the injury and coming up with an average weekly amount that you were paid. Once we know that information, we'll have our common denominator and we'll at least be able to calculate the benefit rates. But the inquiries can't end there, because we are also going to need to know very specific information about your medical treatment and the injury that you sustained. The medical treatment's important, and specifically whether you have any permanent restrictions. And if you do have a permanent restriction, does that preclude you from returning to your prior occupation? If the answer is yes, it opens the door for a whole variety of other ways to try to resolve this case, including a wage impairment under Section 8D1 or potentially a permanent total disability under Section 8F. So without all that information, it would be a disservice to just give you a number and say, here's what I think your case is worth. You really need to talk to an experienced attorney to figure out exactly what your permanency looks like under the American Medical Association guidelines, as well as the occupation that you perform. Your age is important. The medical records and any evidence of disability in those records are all important information in order to get a whole picture of what you could try to resolve this case for. Because you really only get what I like to say is one bite at the apple. That's your settlement. And once you take that bite, it's game over. So you got to make sure that you take the best bite that you can to maximize your recovery.